Hello, and welcome back to our study of Lesson 8. Today we're going to look at Tuesday, Fair and Compassionate. Question A. What reveals God's justice in honoring Jacob? Let's read Romans chapter 9, verses 13 and 14. And it says, "As it is written, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. And what shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? Certainly not." So I'm not going to lie. When I first read verse 13, I was a little bit confused because I know God to be a God of love. God is love. And I'm sure you know him as that too. So why does it say that he hated Esau? God doesn't hate. God cannot hate, right? Well, I searched it up, and I read a couple commentaries, and it was saying that back then and during this time, Hebrews would use the word love and hated as a form of comparing two things, as a form of comparison. They didn't actually mean love or hated. They more meant accepted or rejected, or something is preferred above something else. So the words love and hated, that's not what they actually meant. So here Jesus is saying, Jacob I have accepted, but Esau rejected. And why? Why did this have to happen? Because Esau chose his own course. He chose his path to destruction, whereas Jacob, he longed for heavenly things, and we saw that yesterday. He longed for that spiritual blessing. Jacob chose God, and in return, God chose Jacob. In the last note under A, it says, "Every soul is elected who will work out his own salvation with fear and trembling. He is elected who will put on the armor and fight the good fight of faith. He is elected who will watch unto prayer, who will search the scriptures and flee from temptation. He is elected who will have faith continually, and who will be obedient to every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God." The provisions of redemption are free to all. The results of redemption will be enjoyed by those who have complied with the conditions. Question B says, what timeless principle did God unveil to Moses about his compassion? Well, let's go back and read Exodus chapter 34, verses 5 and 7. And it says, "Now the Lord descended in the cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of the Lord. And the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abounding in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children to the third and the fourth generation." And then going back in Romans chapter 9, verses 15 and 16, it says, "For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whomever I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whomever I will have compassion. So then it is not of him who wills, nor of him who runs, but of God who shows mercy." So in Exodus, it's talking about how he keeps mercy for thousands. He forgives iniquity and he forgives sin. And here in Romans, Paul is really emphasizing that God has that choice. God has all the power, and he can do whatever he wants. And it is not of us. It is not, sometimes we think it's an obligation for us to receive mercy, or we deserve to receive mercy, but we do not deserve any of that. It is not an obligation. It is simply him choosing to show mercy to thousands. God can do whatever he wants. He is God, and yet he chooses to love us. He chooses to show mercy to us and to forgive you and me. And he does this simply out of his own desire and love for the fallen human race. So in all of these verses, it can get really tricky, and it can make a lot of questions rise up in our mind, but this is why I'm emphasizing so much that we really have to just understand and know as much as we can of the character of God and know who he is. And we will be able to understand these verses more clearly. And I pray that as we continue going through this lesson, that we will be blessed and really get to know God more personally during this time that we spend together. And I will see you again tomorrow to continue studying this lesson.